here who are current containers, like Paul from High5, Kevin Tom from iGoogle, Sachin Reki from iMeme, Max Newbold from MySpace, and Manu Reki from Orchid. No, so it will be Leah Bratton for Orchid. So these are all open social containers who are live today. And then there are the upcoming ones. So the surprise, is it... has it been okay? So there's a surprise container. He'll tell you more about this. And then Brandon Duncan from LinkedIn, Juriam Persin from Netlog, Jay Parrick from Ning, Xavier Legros from Yahoo, and Xavier, are you French? Great. And then Kevin Marks is going to talk about Friend Connect. Each of them will have 4 minutes to talk about their container, and we have a gong to enforce that, so we'll be very strict about this. So guys, let's go. OpenSocial overview. So OpenSocial is 74 days old in terms of when the first containers shipped. There's already 275 million users that can be that use some social site who implement OpenSocial. So for application developers, this is really a great opportunity. For applications that are installed already, we have 66 million of app installs among more than 2,000 apps, and there's 20,000 developers who are creating these apps. And there are 10 million daily app users. So the numbers are really good, and I look forward to have the same session in 6 months where I expect them to blow through the roof. So, Paul, for High5, 4 minutes.
Start the timers. So yeah, I'm Paul from High5. And how many people here know what High5 is? Oh, most of you. Good. So, and I don't have to go too far into this, but High5 is really, really popular in lots and lots of places. All these countries where we're the #1 social network. In addition, you can see that we actually are one of the really... Oh, that's the 30-second warning, or the 3.5-minute warning. So actually, our traffic is actually evenly distributed throughout the world. So you're going to see us in Asia. You can see us in Africa, South America, North America, Europe. Just want to highlight a couple of particular areas. Like High5 is particularly strong in areas like Portugal, Romania, Thailand, Mexico, and South and Central America, various parts of that. So really global, areas. Lots of users that don't use other social networks use High5. So what kind of users are using High5? Well, here's some gender and age distributions. You can see that it's primarily younger user and a little bit more male than female. So there you go. So anyway, so about in like right around the beginning of April, we launched our platform, and it's been really great success. So here's some actual stats from that. You can see that the here, I'm going to give you the actual numbers. I can just read them off to you. I mean, but basically the end result is it's huge. It's big. All of our users have access to OpenSocial applications. We're seeing millions of applications installed every day. Some of the top apps like iLike and Super5s and some of these other ones are actually getting 1 million canvas views per day. So and then at least half of the High5 users, of which there's about 30 to 40 million actives every month, and about 80 to 90 million registered, are actually using OpenSocial apps. So huge amounts, big. And for those of you who are interested in what we actually do to do all this, so we've been a big partner with working with Shindig. We've been contributing a bunch of code. We've been pushing it to its extremes. You'll get to see me talk about it in, I think, less than an hour in this very room about how we actually use Shindig in production. But here's some other big numbers for you. So with just a single rack of machines, which is not a whole lot of machines really, when you're considering the volumes that you just saw, we're able to serve 30 billion requests in 30 days, 10,000 requests per second, all this kind of stuff. And we're trying to contribute a lot of that information back so we can make OpenSocial really, really successful, and also Shindig a really first-class product. And so where are we going to take it? So we've had a lot of good success, but now we want to do more. So as of today, we're going onto a new beta cycle. So OpenSocial 0.8 was actually sort of finalized today, and we're very excited about that because it adds a lot of new features. And so there's a beta server up right now that has sort of the sort of minimal state of OpenSocial as it exists right now and Shindig. And you can access it right now, sandbox@high5.com. And we'll be extending the REST API, doing a lot of other things. And then furthermore, we're going to add a bunch of open features for High5 so that OpenID and OAuth are supported, and you can do all kinds of cool things with High5 in the future. Thanks very much.
Thank you. I'm Kevin Tom. I'm one of the product managers on iGoogle. So as most of you probably know, iGoogle is Google's personalized homepage. There are a couple of things that make iGoogle a really interesting product as an open social container. The first thing is that we really think that each iGoogle page is as unique as the person who creates it. So iGoogle users pick their 6 or 8 most important gadgets or pieces of content from across their online life and aggregate it onto their personalized homepage. So that's one thing, is that we think that unlike a lot of the other products at Google, iGoogle is really one where essentially it's almost completely built by the users and it's completely designed by the users. The second thing is that iGoogle is a private page completely focused on content. So while most social networks have essentially a profile component where people can come and view things about you, favorite books, favorite movies, iGoogle is a product that's completely focused around the user. It's a product where the user looks at what are the books that they're most likely to be interested in, or what are the books that they're most likely to consume. As far as iGoogle's users and other information, there are tens of millions of iGoogle users. It's one of Google's fastest growing products the past 2 years. We've seen extremely high growth on iGoogle. And as far as the split between U.S. and international, there's about 50% in the U.S., 50% international. You can see some of the bigger international countries on our code site listed. For a total list of supported languages and countries, we have 42 languages and 73 domains, and you can check that on our code site as well. This is what iGoogle looks like. So for those of you who are familiar with the product today, it's pretty familiar. Again, it's basically built by users. The content section is built from gadgets that the users love. The horizontal line of tabs goes away. We're moving to a left-hand navigation model to give users single-click access to a gadget no matter where they are in their iGoogle page. There's the updates gadget as well, where users will see updates just like in the other containers, as well as canvas views that are coming. A couple things about the particular policies for iGoogle. We've gotten a lot of questions about these, so I just wanted to clear some of them up. For iGoogle, we are going to be allowing ads in iGoogle on the Google homepage. They will be restricted to the canvas view, but you'll be allowed to use any ad provider and decide how the ads will look, where they're placed, etc. So it's a very open policy. To ensure that the users of iGoogle get a great experience, we'll be soliciting feedback from users on all of the gadgets. And for gadgets that are flagged as being ad heavy by a certain amount of users, we'll be figuring out how to impact things like ranking in the directory and some of the viral features. As far as viral features, for updates, we're looking at doing 5 updates per day. You can test updates right now in the sandbox with our developer tools. We'll also be supporting notifications, which is request send message, and we're looking at taking that up to 10 per user per day, and that will be coming to the sandbox in the near future. As far as progress and roadmap, we launched the sandbox on 4/21. We've gotten extremely good feedback from a lot of social developers, people who have existing gadgets on other open social containers, people who are porting Facebook apps. They've been very happy with the sandbox. The uptime and reliability has been very good on the Shindig servers. We've been extremely happy with them. On 5/19, just a few days ago, we launched some of the UI improvements that you saw in that mock. So Sandbox continues to improve, and we'll be pushing updates to the OpenSocial APIs and the Themes API as they're available. Consumer plan, in June, we're going to be releasing the Canvas view first, and the social APIs will be rolling out later this summer. So for more information, I'll be around as well as other iGoogle representatives, but you can sign up for the sandbox and check out these other links to get in contact with us. Thank you.
All right. My name is Sachin Reiki. I am the product manager for the Ime Media platform. I wanted to start off by telling you a little bit about what is Ime. So Ime, first and foremost, is a social network. It's a social network based around the sharing and discovering of all kinds of media, including music, videos, and photos. Ime is, in fact, now the third largest social network based on U.S. traffic, with 24 million unique visitors coming to our site every month. So the Ime functionality is really centered around the playlisting experience. We allow users to come to our site, search for tracks and any kind of music or media, create playlists from that media, and then stream on-demand that content on imeme.com thanks to the content partnerships that we have. In addition, we make it really easy to discover new music that you may be interested in, as well as finding additional fans that have similar music tastes. So about 2 months ago, we launched the Ime Media platform, and that original platform created a ActionScript client library that allowed you to build third-party applications on Ime. Several weeks ago, we launched our OpenSocial container. So now we have open sandbox access for developers to build applications on imeme.com. I wanted to talk a little bit about why developers should care about building applications on Imeme. Of course, for developers, reach is always important. And as I mentioned, we have 24 million unique visitors on our site, which is a great audience to get access to. But what's really unique about Imeme is that what we've done with our platform is provide developers access to our massive media library. So all that content that is available on Imeme is now available to developers. So developers have access to this media and can create rich, innovative media experiences leveraging all of our content licenses. In addition to the actual media and streaming, we enable giving you access to tons of media features, including our playlisting functionality, our recommendation functionality. In terms of recommendations, we expose not only our recommendation API, but also the raw data giving you access to users' information to build your own recommendation APIs. So it's a very rich platform for building innovative media experiences on imeme.com. The nice thing is that we've extended our OpenSocial implementation to have an extension that gives you access to this media data. So through the typical JavaScript APIs that you're familiar with OpenSocial, you can now access music, videos, and photos, search for that content, get related content, and take advantage of the Ime Media platform. So I wanted to highlight one example application that's already been built on the platform. And this application is the Echo Chamber application. It's developed by EchoNest. EchoNest is a company that's developed a great set of recommendation APIs. What they've done is they've mashed up their own recommendation engine with the content that's available on Imeme and created the Echo Chamber, which is a personalized radio station experience on imeme.com. This essentially allows users to come to the site, put in their favorite artist, and get a personalized stream of tracks that are recommended to them. So as I mentioned, Imeme is a media-focused site, but a social network as well. So we're interested in all kinds of applications being built on the platform. Not only media applications, but bringing a lot of the social applications that exist on existing containers to imeme.com as well. So in terms of getting started with the platform, if there's one URL to remember, it's imeme.com/developers. And from there, you can get access to our documentation, our forums, our blog, and everything else you need to get started on our platform. All right, that's it.
Hello, everyone. My name is Max Newbold. I am a development manager and product owner for OpenSocial at MySpace. If you don't already know about MySpace, OpenSocial started about 7 months ago. We soft launched our container back in February. It then did a full launch about a month after that. The REST APIs that actually support OpenSocial have been around for over a year now and are now just being opened up through OpenSocial. According to recent stats, we are the #1 social network in the US. 12% of all internet minutes are spent on MySpace. And our demographic is rapidly changing from not just 14 to 25, but we're moving up in the age demographic. And in terms of localization, the platform itself currently supports 24 languages. So the status of the platform itself. We're currently moving towards OpenSocial 0.8. We are not a Shindig container, so there's a lot of custom work that has to go into it, so we can't immediately move across to it. We're introducing the application communication channel, which will be a portion of the mail center, which contains all types of notifications and communications coming from applications. This was done to separate out the channels of user and application communication to avoid clogging up the user-generated channels. The main piece of application communication channel in terms of OpenSocial is we will now have request share app and activity support. Tom himself has actually taken a stance on how activity or applications are spreading themselves. So what he's trying to get done is move away from applications with a very short lifespan that a user would get bored of within a week to something that's actually useful and engages the user more. And the idea behind this is that apps will end up providing more value and stick around longer as opposed to just growing a huge install base. Internally, we've had a lot of focus on scaling, speeding things up, performance. We're becoming a lot more transparent, so we're starting to do release notes and releasing a product roadmap saying what features are coming out when, so that application developer companies can work towards those deadlines. Coming down the pipeline, we have a remote container package coming out, and this is basically so applications that currently run in an iframe but are hosted on a third-party site, they don't have access to some of the MySpace-specific functionality, so we're opening that up. We're also putting out new client libraries for ActionScript.net, a bunch of others, and we're opening up some open source add-ons that users and developers can contribute on. Currently, we've got just one UI widget going as an add-on, which is a friend picker, extremely well written, does all of your searching, everything, indexing behind the scenes. And they're also going to start putting out some extensions as just JS libs that we see constantly being reused by devs. In terms of high-level stats, I ran this last week. So we have just under 15 million apps installed. Just over 1,400 apps have been created in all time. The average install for an app is about 10,000, but it's a high curve because there's quite a few apps over millions and a bunch that just are hanging around about 100. We actually have 57,000 developer accounts. Now, not all of those have put out apps, obviously, but we have multiple developer accounts linked together, and then way too much caffeine. Okay. In terms of fostering the ecosystem, we do dev jams. So we travel all over the world and teach how to use MDP and OpenSocial. And we actually sit down with developers and spend anywhere up to 8 hours. And by the end of these events, they've come up with apps, and we run demos. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Manu Rekhi. I'm one of the product managers on Orchid. So here's some stats that actually most of you wouldn't have known. According to Alexa, so Orchid's like the 11th largest website in the world. We actually have over 60 million active users. They're primarily outside the U.S. Even though U.S. we have over 10 million users. But the biggest markets we have is Brazil, India, and there's a whole bunch of smaller ones as well that I didn't list out here. So our OpenSocial stats, we've actually launched about 50% of users now. We're going to be opening up to Brazil and other places very soon as well. This is mostly because we wanted to test to make sure all the plumbings and everything else was done proper. We have about 120 applications that are running right now. We've been very strict with the quality, the latency, security, everything else that's on the applications. So the end user experience is very good. So we've actually achieved a lot of that stuff. And then the users have actually adopted this very well. We have millions of apps already been installed, even with the 50% launch we've had so far. So the timeline, so we were one of the first ones that actually had the sandbox launched. So at the announcement for OpenSocial, Orchid was one of the containers. We did 0.6 in December with 0.7 in January. We did a limited launch in March to test out the waters to make sure we're not going to host the application developers or the traffic coming in. And then between April and May, we've basically been releasing the application access to about 50% of users. So by June, we'll actually have it rolled out to all users. And we're looking to actually implement 0.8 in Q3, mid-Q3 timeframe. So just to give you a little bit of background on the open source foundations we've been using, we are Shindig compatible. We're using Shindig. We've been tens of millions of requests are getting on Orchid every day. It's a very active developer community right now. We get a lot of feedback on our blogs or forums, and quite a bit of reference implementation that's been sort of posted up. What's coming up very soon is RESTful APIs. Is the most asked feature, not just on Orchid but on OpenSocial, and the OAuth services for gadgets as well. And adding additional security. Right now, a lot of the security we're giving feedback to developers is all manual, and we want to get having Kaha basically do a lot of that stuff. And basically, our development process for engineers is minimal customization using Shindig as much as possible, the open source, and then replacing some of the custom code we've actually had in the past. So that's most of the focus we've been doing on. This is where you can find communication on developer. Our reference sort of areas, code.google.com, APIs, Orchid, a blog of forums, and some recommendations for app developers. Do focus on latency. If your app takes 50 seconds to download, chances are people are going to uninstall it, right? So the rule of thumb is try to get it below 5 seconds if you can. Under 10 seconds is good as well, but anything over is in red zone. Also security. We try not to be as reactive. If you can think of security up front, look at SS bugs, make sure you have a good QA process in place. It'll save you a lot of trouble later on. And then respecting the user. And before I get gonged out, I'm going to stop.
So I think the secret's probably out by now, but we have a secret container. And my name's Eric Statz. I'm a gadget advocate and architect for MyAOL, and that's your secret container. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. But before I do, I want to just touch back on AOL. Some people here might think we don't have a lot of secrets at AOL, but if you're not paying attention, we still run the largest real-time social network in AIM and ICQ. We have a leading business map solution. We have a leader in video search, and we have a whole bunch more. But like I said, I'm here to talk to you about MyAOL, and a little bit about MyAOL. We launched that just over a year ago. We're very similar to iGoogle, NetVibes, MyYahoo, etc. So we're an inward-facing profile-type application. But we also feature some really innovative sub-products of the MyAOL suite, Magnet and Favorites being among them. Magnet is a collaborative recommendation engine, and Favorites is a really great feed reader and a bookmarking engine. To date, MyAOL has 55 portals that exist in 16 countries with 12 languages, and we're servicing about 20 million users. We're all AJAX-based. We're built on top of the Dojo framework. And we like to utilize standards. So we have a standards-based microformat for our modules now called Module T. And Module T is based on, just HTML, CSS, and AJAX. Very similar to gadgets, actually. But we want to make a change. We want to embrace you, the developer. And so with that, I'd like to announce that MyAOL is going to become a gadget container in the very near future. And with that gadget release, we'll be looking to add OpenSocial support sometime after that. Now, I'm sure a lot of you here are big advocates of gadgets and OpenSocial already. That's why you're here. But just as a reminder, what's good about gadgets? Gadgets offer a run once, or write once, run anywhere, a design paradigm. Some numbers from Google, they have 100,000 gadgets now, and 2,100 of those are OpenSocial gadgets. And just like Module T, they're based on the same HTML, CSS, and AJAX-enabled JavaScript standards. Gadgets have some really great features, L10N XML message bundles with bidirectional text support, server-side templating language, and one of my favorite features is the AJAX prefetch, which will allow you to do AJAX synchronous requests without all the latency that you usually get with AJAX. And they offer an extensible multi-view support. But really the key thing to AOL, we're really, really big on protecting our users and security. And I think that the key thing for us was gadget support of OAuth and not having users put their username and password into their widgets and saving that in some online store. We're going to adopt OAuth there. And the other great thing with gadgets is their use of iframes and Kaha to keep the data safe inside of the iframe. And we're running short on time, so some other great things. We have a bunch of OpenAuth APIs now, and we're moving to OAuth, so come check us out at dev.aol.com and see how you can build some gadgets and work with us at AOL.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brandon Duncan, and I'm Director of Engineering at LinkedIn. And I realize we're competing with lunch right now, so thank you for coming here instead of that tasty food that Google's serving, but I'm sure you'll get some later. So I'm from LinkedIn, as I mentioned, and as most of you are familiar, LinkedIn is the leading professional network for experienced professionals. Some statistics you may be aware of. We have over 22 million members. We are the fastest growing social network, 361% year over year, according to Nielsen. About 9 million unique users visit each month, and we have representation at the executive level from all 500 of the Fortune 500 companies. And the average household income of a LinkedIn member is about $140,000, according to the New York Times. So our philosophy when it comes to OpenSocial. So because we serve a community of professionals, we realize that our members want productivity applications and tools to assist them in their professional lives. So this leads us down a slightly different path than some of the other containers, and it allows us to leverage our proven monetization model to provide a compelling business opportunity for developers. So the LinkedIn OpenSocial platform. We've built this on Shindig, and we're currently at 0.7, and we're looking to migrate to 0.8 before we launch publicly. We're leveraging our existing LinkedIn RESTful APIs that some of you may be aware of, and we are looking to support RESTful server-to-server calls, and that's one of the reasons that we are looking to move to Shindig 0.8, because we want to take advantage of that. And we're looking to provide our sandbox for our partners in Q2. And we're looking to do a public launch in Q3. And we've already got several key launch partners who have committed to our program. So our partners, we're currently selecting partners. The criteria, as I alluded to before, are productivity applications, things to extend people's professional profile, and targeted verticals. We're looking to open up over time as we build experience and support infrastructure. We take the privacy of our users' data very seriously at LinkedIn, and so we are taking a conservative approach to make sure that we don't overextend ourselves, and we want to make sure we understand the platform. But interested developers may contact us right now. Just go and send us an email at developers@linkedin.com. We'd love to hear from you. So what are we going to provide? We're going to give developers access to home, profile, and canvas views. We're going to give them access to users' profile information and their LinkedIn connections. We're going to give you access to one-to-one messaging and being able to post to people's network updates feeds. This is going to provide developers with a viral mechanism. And in terms of LinkedIn-specific extensions, we are exposing the degree distance in the person object. We feel that this is a very valuable thing. This is one of the key differentiators about LinkedIn, is that for any two people we can say the distance apart from them, and we believe that developers are going to want to leverage this information as well. And we're also exposing the number of connections that a person has in the person object. And that's it for me.
Hi all, I'm Peter, I'm from Netlog, and I'm going to talk to you about Netlog. We're on Netlog. We are a European-based social network. We at the moment have more than 35 million members and 35 unique monthly visitors each month. And we serve more than 4 billion page views a month. We are currently in the Alexa Top 100 and Comscore Europe Top 10 ranking. We serve more than 20 different languages in more than 20 different countries all over Europe. And we are a market leader in most European countries. So here you can see a map from Europe, and you see all the countries in Europe we serve, and all countries are served in their own language. So we make a huge effort in localization and language. And we are planning on using OpenSocial in all these countries in their different languages. So our philosophy is that our user is a king. So everything evolves around the user. So for that matter, we want quality applications. What does that mean? We're going to whitelist applications because we don't like the autoplay and profile view, because we had bad experience with that. We don't want ads on the profile view and no spamming apps, like there are a lot of them. In the localization and translation part, if necessary, we can always help you. You can always contact us for things like that. We have a lot of experience in that. The application integrates with the user through blog, photos, and videos. Our users can use photos, blogs, and videos to get in touch with each other, but our applications will be able to do the same to inform their users of upcoming releases or things like that. And we also will have direct communication with the application users through notifications and things like that. You can't use ads in your profile view, but we also have a canvas view where you can have ads, where you have 100% revenue off. But we also have a unique solution, and that is credits. That's an extension we will make on OpenSocial. Each user has credits, and the application can charge credits on an install or monthly basis or something like that. And the payout of that will be 65% of all credits you get. And that's based on the credits exchange rate, and that rate depends on which language you're on. So where are we now? We have our OpenSocial sandbox live at the moment. Just go to netlog.com/go/developer. Beginning of June, we are soft launching the OpenSocial on our English distribution. And by the end of June, we will do a full launch on the English distribution. And shortly after that, we will open up OpenSocial to our other distributions. We are still searching for partner applications to partner up for our launches. So if anybody is interested, you can always contact us. You can contact us at netlog.com/go/developer or at apps@netlog.com. And I see Patrick is waiting to give the gong, so go ahead.
Hi, Jay Parikh here from Ning. In case you don't know what Ning is doing today, we are a platform that allows people to create a social network for anything. We have basically today 285,000 plus social networks on the platform. We reach about 27 million uniques per month. We also support about 20 languages today. I think it's actually 18, but soon to be 20. 20 languages. About half of our traffic right now that we see from our user base is international, so we're about, I think, 48% international, 52% domestic, and that continues to shift as the weeks go by. For our support of OpenSocial gadgets, we will have, we actually are live with OpenSocial today. We were live on November 2nd, so the day after Campfire 1 when it was announced. We are supporting 0.5 today, though, and we are migrating to 0.7 by the end of June. We are also in the process of the next release that we do adopting and implementing Shindig. So we are throwing out our custom implementation on 0.5 in favor of 0.7 based on Shindig. just to give you some preview in terms of the Ning specifics, is that there is the context of an OpenSocial gadget being on the home page of a social network, as well as the profile page, which everybody's used to seeing. Within the profile page, gadgets can obviously help the members tap into new applications, customizations, other viral features on Ning, such as messaging, invitation, sharing, other things that directly tap into the Ning content store and other REST APIs that we are building OpenSocial support on top of. So here's an example of one of the social networks on Ning today. It's a social network called Wake First, and I don't know how many thousands of members they have, but they actually have created this whole social network around their community around wakeboarding. And here's a preview of what the new implementation of OpenSocial will look like within our profile page for a member. The Canvas view, which also supported in other containers, but will also support the Canvas view within the context of the social network as well. Some of the coloring here is off just to make the app stand out, but that's going to be customizable, and it is today. Actually works that way for our 0.5 implementation. Again, as I said, we'll be launching at the end of June with 0.7. We're also looking to talk to interested partners as part of our launch for 0.7. And we're also going to have a developer sandbox area so that developers can come in and actually develop against a actual Ning network, being able to see and test it out in the different views versus the home page of the network, the profile page, and other support we may add it to our groups functionality as well. So I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks. Great. I guess I have 18 minutes left. My name is Xavier, and I'm here to tell you more today about Yahoo Open Strategy and how that fits with OpenSocial. Before we get started, I thought it would be good to get you guys an idea of really like the scope of Yahoo. And very often after Web 2.0, where we introduced our open strategy, we got a lot of questions about what type of applications you as a developer should write. And really the answer is like whatever you can think of. We have 600 million unique users that come pretty much monthly to our sites, a bit to news, to finance, to front page. We have 10 billion relationships that have been created on our sites, on our network. That generates around like 180 billion page views. So we have a very large traffic and a very, very wide audience. So we think this makes, for you as a developer, a very, very cool solution and a very cool place for you to integrate your content. So now let me tell you how you as a developer will be able to integrate with Yahoo. So as part of this open strategy, we created two main building blocks. The first one is what we call the Yahoo social technologies. And really here what those are is like a set of open standards that you as a developer will be able to use to actually plug your content inside Yahoo and query Yahoo data. The second part of this strategy is what I call the Yahoo application platform. And this is kind of like the canvases. This is the way that you developers will be able to integrate your content inside Yahoo properties. So let's go and get more details on those two main building blocks. The social technologies in our V1 release will enable you to actually get a couple of things. The first part is going to be what we call social directory. And through a set of REST APIs, you'll be able to query user data and connections. But on top of that, we'll offer you as well, as part of our V1 release, a set of APIs for creating updates. And those are, what we call vitality or newsfeeds on other platforms, or activities on OpenSocial. And the last part will be actually presence, and this is more like, for you offering developers a way of saying, what's the user doing and creating that data. What are you up to right now? Typical example for this integration is that, let's say you own actually cameras.com. The key thing here is through OpenID and OAuth, we will enable you to actually sign the user to the Yahoo network, and through actually the magic token through OAuth, we'll enable you through the REST APIs to query his address book, to query his list of connections. And here the main idea is for you to take that content and enrich your site with Yahoo user experiences. Once we created the Yahoo application platform and we thought, how can a developer really leverage our content? How can a developer leverage our 600 million users? We thought the issue we had was we don't have just one vertical. we have many verticals. Remember, we're number one in 7 core verticals, what I call verticals of property. So what we design is around this concept of views. And so what happens, an application that you'll be able to develop on the Yahoo application platform will have different views. SearchMonkey was actually introduced 2 weeks ago and is actually live right now and leverages the Yahoo application platform, enables developers to customize search results, and this is already live. Now we're going to introduce a set of standard views, which is the small view and the full page view, and probably already used to those concepts. But you can take those ideas and extend it to mobile, to page, to mail, to front page, in which case, we need something that is very fast with very low SLAs, and contextual views. So here, just to reiterate some of the things we talked about, think of an application as a set of views, a bundle of views, small view and full page view coming in our V1, SearchMonkey available right now. We'll have OpenSocial available in the full page view, the canvas view, and we're working actually on the 0.7 spec, but paying close attention to the 0.8 spec. Now, as a developer, we wanted to offer as many development choices as possible. We have developer hosted and Yahoo hosted. Simple PHP first in the industry. Talk to me after this, because I'm going to get the gong. Each application actually has a set of built-in behaviors, and all those behaviors and features will be available to you as a developer. I get only one gong? Yeah. So we're open for innovation. I think if there is one thing I want you to remember is that we have 600 million users, and we're going to give you, and we're committed to OpenSocial, and committed actually as making you sure that you guys are doing great on our platform. Thanks.
Thank you. So everyone else has been talking about how big their sites are. I want to talk about Google Friend Connect, which is help to connect to lots of little sites. The way Google Friend Connect is designed is that it's built on 3 open standards. You sign in using OpenID, which is supported by many of these containers already. That gives you your identity. You draw your friends from other social networks using OAuth, using the 0.8 RESTful spec and other custom connections we've got there. And then you embed OpenSocial applications within any website. So we start with an end-user website that you can then make any website social by adding a small amount of JavaScript to the site. I lost some of my slides here. So Google Friend Connect is designed to help 3 different sets of people. It's to help the users of any website to get more ways to do things with their friends. For the site owners, it will bring more users to your site and get them more engaged. And the app developers, it gives more reach for the apps. One of the questions we've had is, well, what's the value in this for the social network sites? There's also, by extending the reach of the social network sites to other websites that are focused on other things, it makes their memberships more valuable. It also lets the activity you take on those sites be reflected in your activity streams on the third-party social network sites that we're drawing the members from as well. So I'd recommend, if you're interested in this, go to google.com/friendconnect and sign up for the preview release. So here's a couple of examples of the sites. IngridMichaelson.com is a musician's website. Here, there's the I Like gadget embedded in here, which lets, before this, her site was very plain. It was sort of a generic, here's my list of gigs site. Now it's got an active community who are sharing her songs with each other and discussing them there. The BibleApps.com site is quite interesting. Here, the developer had built an application that was based around quizzes and sharing prayers and Bible stuff that was used on multiple different social networks. With Friend Connect, he was able to wrap that up and have his own site host his own application and have a user base there who can log in and share the application with each other. And finally, you can embed this on any site, even an obscure site like my own blog. We're working on this with Blogger and with other blogging sites to work out how you can have a community added to the sidebar of your blog and what applications make sense there. So that's something we expect to see quite a bit more of soon. And that's it. Let's go to Q&A for anyone, any of the containers.
Thanks, Kevin. I would really have liked to use this gong. Yeah, so before we go into the Q&A, I'd like to know who among you are container developers or social site? Oh, wow, great. Just get your hands on Shindig. And who among you are application developers? Excellent. And who among you are neither of these? You can go for lunch now. So now it's Q&A time. Please shoot questions to our containers here. And there are 2 mics here. If you can move to the mics to ask the questions.
Hi, this is for iGoogle. I was wondering, with your new setup, it's affected sizes, and I'm wondering if we can depend on sizes to stop changing. For example, when you implemented it in Blogger, Google Gadget sizes have changed a lot. So this is for, yeah.
Are you speaking in particular about the width of the gadgets on?
I am. Well, for example, when you open directory to Blogger, that I would say 50 to 60% of Google Gadgets don't fit on Blogger and don't work correctly. I mean, they work if you can see them. Again, the with your new iGoogle with the sidebar, gadget accessible, whatever, it's totally affected sizes again.
Sure. So the question is, with the new UI, how does that affect essentially the size of gadgets? And there were some particular concerns about how that affects gadgets on other properties such as Blogger. I don't want to speak on the Blogger team's behalf necessarily. I'm not super familiar with their implementations or how gadgets work on Blogger. But for iGoogle, it was a very difficult decision for us. We try to maximize the amount of space and the access to applications that users can touch, so that developers can build really rich experiences. In our experience, we found that the new navigation system has a number of benefits. Namely, if you're in a Canvas page for any particular application, you can easily click over to other tabs or other applications. And so we made a tough trade-off there. The size difference on a 1024 by 768 screen, the gadgets go from about 300 pixels down to 260. So there is about a 40 pixel sacrifice. We tried to regain some of the space by shrinking some of the distances between gadgets and some of the other margins in the page, and try and minimize the impact on developers. But that's definitely great feedback. One of the interesting things about iGoogle is that, unlike a lot of other containers, iGoogle scales with the user's browser resolution. And so the Canvas page isn't necessarily a fixed width, and in the home view, the gadgets aren't necessarily a fixed width. As you go above 1024, the gadgets get to take advantage of that real estate as well. So we're working with developers to try and figure out how they can create gadgets that essentially scale down to about 260 pixels, but scale up effectively so that if they have 400 or 500 pixels, they can take advantage of that real estate as well, rather than developing around a fixed width.
Hi, this question is for anyone where we can create groups. I was wondering if we could post a gadget on the group if you are a group owner.
Which one? Sorry.
Instead of on the profile.
Oh, sorry.
I think the question, I'll repeat that, is if you have a group in the community, can you then post your gadget in a group rather than just on a profile page, right? So we are, so it's not part of the Shindig right now, but containers are more than open to actually add extensions to the current container. And we're actually looking at doing the same thing. We have a very vibrant community. We have over 25 million communities on Orchid. And we are looking at some point exposing community owners to add applications, the ones they feel relevant to their community sites. Cool. So I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, High Five is actually, we have a number of interesting things in-house where we're looking at putting gadgets in more and interesting places. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that in the next 6 months.
The answer is yes.
So, yes.
Hi. Not being convinced that our operations department has very few levers to pull. I was curious what, I guess, excuse me, I'm very nervous. I'm just curious in implementations that are non-Shindig, any of you up here that are, how you've done so, difficulties that arose, and just a general attack plan you had for it.
Right, so what do you want to know?
So basically, your plan of attack with a non-Shindig implementation, running a container site and setting those things up without Shindig being an option, I'm assuming.
Right, so I mean, we're basically working forwards to meet the OpenSocial interface, right? So we already had the existing REST libraries out there, and it was a matter of forcing them to work within the interface and parameters defined through OpenSocial. It probably would have saved us a lot of time if we went straight onto Shindig, but we're also a Microsoft shop for the most part, so all of our services are running on IIS, not Apache. So the infrastructural cost and the knowledge base that we already had at MySpace, it made a lot more sense to go about and implement our own container and backend as opposed to using Shindig. But it was definitely challenging.
And there's one further addition to that. So Shindig is a modularized system. So one interesting aspect that you might consider is developing using the new OpenSocial REST specification. So if you're going to implement your own stuff, you can use that, and then use the Shindig gadget server to do the rendering and the application stuff. So it really opens up a lot of new avenues for what you can do in the ecosystem.
Hi, my question is actually not very technical, but I'm hoping that everybody can answer it. Everybody has talked about you guys provide a huge platform and a big community for the developers, but what about the financing side? I mean, do you have any financial incentives for the developers to develop applications and stuff like that?
Who wants to talk about that? So I think the question was around, is there financial incentives for developers or both? Just the developers, right? That's
the
what
first one.
Okay. So we've actually taken a stance that you can monetize the Canvas page, and that's completely 100% for the developers, right? And I think a lot of the containers here have taken similar stances as well. I mean, I don't want to speak for other people, but the other piece that I've seen some of the developers do very interesting stuff is actually include brand as part of their sort of the application itself, right? So sort of if you're going to poke your buddy, if you have a buzz from MTV or somewhere else, or Nike sort of things embedded within the application, it sort of becomes a natural extension of the application experience rather than something that's an ad slapped next to it, right? So I think the more innovative developers are actually going beyond just putting a banner or a text ad as well. Anyone else?
So one of the things that I had mentioned in my slide deck was that LinkedIn is approaching this a bit differently, and we're not dependent on advertising revenue. We actually have other revenue streams which we're hoping to make those available to our third-party developers as well. So as you may know, LinkedIn has subscriptions, and there's other things that we're actively exploring with our launch partners. So I think that if you're looking for something aside from just pure advertising revenue of placing ads on your Canvas pages, that LinkedIn may provide an interesting opportunity for you.
Aaron from livingsocial.com. What are for folks that don't use data APIs that are part of the OpenSocial spec, what are your thoughts on sharding of user data cross social platform? Essentially surfacing users and or content that may be cross-platform. A high five user shows up in a MySpace app or et cetera. It's something that's not really been discussed, but it's definitely a potential feature that exists right now. Thoughts from anyone, really?
Well, I can talk to that a bit because FriendConnect is doing that kind of thing.
Sort of, yeah.
What it comes down to is because the ID spaces are different, you have to make the connections for the users, and
right.
Users don't necessarily want their contexts joined, so you have to be careful about doing this automatically. It's something that OpenSocial is designed such that you have an ID space per container, so that those are separated. But you should be able to represent those within the application so that you can tell which one they've come from.
Right. So we're able to represent and normalize that data model, but how do the containers actually feel about that is more my question. Technically, it's possible, but how do you want that to happen? What are your thoughts there?
I'll take a stab at it. So the question is, basically, what do we think about, representing other identities across social networks? Well, there's an interesting dynamic going on, and you'll see it from, I think, all the people behind me here, which is that everyone's moving to a sort of a set of open standards that allow users to control what they do with their information. So the majority of the people are looking at relaying parties or things like that with OAuth and specifically. Not as much interest in being consumers of those services, but I know that we're definitely looking at it as a possible way to break the sort of registration barrier. I mean, how many people here go to a website and then they hit that registration screen and go, oh, not again, not another one. So I think if we can, once these sort of technologies become ubiquitous, we're going to see that identity then becomes sort of the new foundation of what the internet is all about, and you can just come to expect that that's there, and you can use your ID on any website and do stuff with it. So I think that from High Five's perspective, we think it's actually really cool, and we're going to see what we can do to make that stuff a reality. And if it means that other people can use their accounts elsewhere, that maybe that is going to be good for everyone.
Quick iGoogle question.
Another quick response to that is with OpenID, there are some containers that let you use an OpenID to log in, which means you can bring your credentials with you. We also have a session this afternoon on the Social Graph API, which is a way of reflecting the publicly articulated connections between sites on the public web, as opposed to the private ones that the containers represent. And many of these containers support that stuff too. So that's another way of doing that. I recommend going along to that if you're interested in that topic.
We're kind of 1 minute 30 late already, so Jody, a quick one.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jody from People Browser. We're going alpha this week in a product that is a cross-network dashboard into your online identities. And one of the things that we want to do is put Gmail, a person's Gmail threads into our dashboard. You've got a very cool iGoogle gadget for Gmail, but it doesn't embed into third-party websites. So this is an iGoogle question. Who do we need to talk to embed that Gmail gadget into our application? Because, some of the earlier gadgets are not transportable like the newer ones.
So that's correct. Gmail is one of our original gadgets on iGoogle. It's extremely popular. We can talk afterwards on ways you can get Gmail onto other sites.
Thank you.
Cool. A little bit of housekeeping. Please fill out your surveys, satisfaction survey for this talk. And then lunch has been extended to 2:30, and it's level 3. Thanks very much for attending today.